Big Shaq breaks down in tears after seeing a 90-year-old man pushing strolling, and he did this. The heartbreaking encounter. Big Shaq breaks down in tears after seeing a 90-year-old man struggling. What he did next will shock you. Have you ever seen something so simple yet so heartbreaking that it shook you to your core? Picture this. A towering figure, Big Shaq, the man known for his larger-than-life persona and unbreakable confidence, reduced to tears in the middle of a busy street. Why? Because of one 90-year-old man. This elderly man, bent over with age, slowly pushed a rusty cart filled with discarded cans, worn-out shoes, and whatever scraps he could find. It wasn't just any moment. It was one that would change both of their lives forever. The day had started like any other for Shaq. He was driving through the city, windows down, his favorite song playing softly in the background. It was one of those days when everything seemed to go smoothly. But as he waited at a red light, something caught his eye. A frail old man struggling to push a cart up a slight incline. His hands trembled as he gripped the handle, his tattered clothes barely offering protection from the brisk wind. The man looked exhausted, as if each step was a battle against time itself. Shaq stared for a moment, his heart sinking. How is it possible, he thought, that in a world this advanced, this man is left to live like this? The light turned green, but Shaq couldn't move. Cars honked behind him, impatient, but he didn't care. He pulled over, got out of his car, and approached the old man. "Sir, do you need help?" Shaq's voice was gentle, almost hesitant. The old man looked up, his eyes weary but kind. "No, son, I'm fine," he replied with a weak smile. But Shaq could see that he wasn't fine. The man's legs shook under his weight, and his breathing was labored. Still, he kept pushing that cart, determined to move forward. And that's when it hit Shaq like a freight train. He was reminded of his Uncle Joe, the man who had once been Shaq's rock during his dark days. Uncle Joe had been the only person who believed in him when everyone else said he wouldn't amount to anything. But as life would have it, Uncle Joe had fallen on hard times himself. Shaq remembered how helpless he had felt watching his uncle struggle, unable to do anything about it. Seeing this old man now was like looking at a ghost from his past. It wasn't just pity that Shaq felt. It was guilt, pain, and a burning desire to make things right. He couldn't just walk away. "Please," he said, "let me help you. At least let me push the cart for you." The old man hesitated but finally nodded. As they walked together, Shaq began asking questions. The man's name was Mr. Albert. He was 90 years old, a widower, and had no family left. He'd been living on the streets for over a decade, surviving on the few dollars he earned from recycling cans and bottles. Shaq felt his chest tighten as Mr. Albert spoke. His voice was steady, but the words carried the weight of unimaginable hardship. "I've seen better days," the old man said with a chuckle, "but as long as I can keep moving, I'll be all right." That's when Shaq couldn't hold back his tears. A man who had every reason to give up still found the strength to carry on. It was both heartbreaking and inspiring. But Shaq wasn't just going to cry and walk away. No, that wasn't his style. He was a man of action, and what he did next, no one saw coming. Shaq told Mr. Albert to wait by a nearby diner. He handed the old man a $50 bill. "Get yourself something warm to eat. I'll be right back." Shaq got into his car, and with a mission burning in his heart, he made a few calls, pulled some strings, and within hours, he returned with a plan that would change Mr. Albert's life forever. #, #2. Big Shaq's emotional connection first. Shaq took the old man shopping. They went to a clothing store, where Shaq insisted Mr. Albert pick out anything he wanted. At first, the old man resisted, saying he didn't want to be a burden. But Shaq wouldn't take no for an answer. "You've carried enough burdens in your life," he said. "Let someone carry one for you." From there, Shaq drove Mr. Albert to a hotel where he had rented a room for the man to stay while more permanent arrangements were made. When they arrived, Shaq handed Mr. Albert an envelope. Inside was $10,000 in cash. Mr. Albert's hands shook as he opened it. For a moment, he was speechless. Tears streamed down his face as he looked at Shaq. "Why are you doing this for me?" he asked, his voice cracking. Shaq knelt down so they were eye level. "Because someone once did it for me," he said, "and because you deserve it. You've lived a life most people wouldn't survive. It's time someone showed you the kindness you've shown the world." But Shaq didn't stop there. Over the next few days, he found Mr. Albert a small but comfortable apartment and paid the first 6 months' rent up front. He stocked the fridge with food, bought new furniture, and even set up a small savings account for the old man. 3. Life-changing transformation. The final moment came when Shaq handed Mr. Albert the keys to his new home. The old man broke down completely, sobbing into Shaq's chest. "I don't know how to thank you," he kept saying. But Shaq just hugged him and replied, "You already have." Big Shaq didn't just change Mr. Albert's life. He reminded all of us of the power of compassion, the importance of giving back, and the incredible difference one person can make. So, the next time you see someone struggling, ask yourself, what can I do to help? Because sometimes, even the smallest act of kindness can create a ripple that changes everything. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's spread this message of love and kindness together. And remember, the world doesn't change on its own. It changes when we step up and make it better. If you've watched this far, comment which country you're watching from and leave a 100 in the comment section, because you're the type of person who likes to finish what they started. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to get notified whenever we drop new videos.